I'm Whitney Belker, and this is Miami's Global Connection. Our show is designed to raise public awareness of the interdependent world in which we live. We focus on local leaders who are involved in diverse international issues and projects. The sponsor of our show is the Greater Miami chapter of the United Nations Association of the United States. The United Nations Association is a grassroots group devoted to informing and educating the public about many of the critical services provided by the United Nations. Today, I have the honor of introducing one of my favorite people, Mr. Bill Miller, who played an important role in making this TV show possible. Mr. Miller has hosted and produced more than 350 episodes of Frankfurt and Louisville's Global Connection in Kentucky, where I'm originally from. Mr. Miller worked as the Federal and International Relations Specialist with the Kentucky Legislative Research Commission for more than 20 years. As the current Rotary District Governor, Mr. Miller governs over 59 Rotary clubs, where he has been instrumental in developing international education programs on a local level and developing Rotary Day at the United Nations. He speaks Spanish, French, and has studied German, Portuguese, Russian, and Japanese. More impressive, he's lived and/or visited more than 73 countries around the world. Mr. Miller, you are truly what we call an international personality, and we thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Whitney. It's delightful to be with you again.
Yes. Well, let's talk about what is Rotary International.
Well, Rotary International is one of the oldest service clubs in the world. It was formed in 1905 by Paul Harris in Chicago, Illinois. It's one of the largest service clubs in the world. It has 1.2 million members.
1.2
million members, that's right.
That's an impressive
in
number.
165 countries around the world, in over 32,000 Rotary clubs. And in Florida, I don't have the exact number, but I would bet you have close to probably 8,000 to 10,000 Rotarians and close to 150 to 175 Rotary clubs. So it's a large organization, and of course service above self is our motto, and we carry that out locally and internationally.
So what exactly does service above self really mean?
Well, it can mean many things to many people. Now, folks join Rotary clubs for various reasons. One, you can join to network for your business. You can join because you want fun, you want fellowship, you want substantive programs once a week. You want to be involved in substantive programs at the community level and internationally. But really, service above self is what that person means it or wants it to be. And what we try to do is to improve the quality of life of the people for the people in our communities where we live, as well as for people who live overseas. So we have a variety of projects that go on within the community. It might be a vocational project to help students, for example. It may be a scholarship fund. It may be a community project, perhaps working with the Salvation Army to make money around Christmas time to provide clothing to needy folks.
Sure.
Or it could be an international project.
Well, what would be an example of an international Rotary project?
Well, there are many. I'll tell you the one that really comes to mind, and the largest health project ever undertaken was Polio Plus, and is Polio Plus. In 1985, Rotary International went to the United Nations World Health Organization, commonly called WHO, went to UNICEF, the UN Children's Fund, and to the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, and said, we really want to make a difference in this world. We want to work with you to eliminate the scourge of polio. Now, polio, for most of us in the United States, is not a problem.
Don't even know what polio
Never
is.
think about it, right, because we haven't been afflicted with
my
it.
generation, so
Exactly, right. But there are many of your viewers who remember the iron lung. They remember that, and they probably had members of their family who were afflicted with polio, perhaps died from polio, or maybe are suffering today from polio.
Right.
And Rotary has led the way in conjunction with the United Nations to eliminate the scourge of polio. Now, some people say, well, if it doesn't bother us, why should we be concerned? Well, there are several reasons. One, when we eliminate polio, and it's going to happen within the next 3 or 4 years, we will save 50,000 children's lives every year. Hundreds of thousands, millions more will not be afflicted with the scourge of polio. We as taxpayers in the United States will save $350 million a year that we won't have to put into anti-polio programs. And the taxpayers of the world will save $1.5 billion, not million, but $billion a year that they won't have to put into these programs. So it's a major program.
Number here.
Yeah, you better believe it. A huge number, yes.
Well, the International Rotary Program, which I'm most familiar with and one that's very near and dear to my heart, is the Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship, which is how you and I originally met. Gosh, it's been about almost 8 years ago.
Yes, it has. That's right.
I was one of the Rotary Ambassadorial Scholars from the district from which Bill Miller is from, and in fact, I think we have a rather embarrassing clip from the time that I was first on your TV show when I returned from my stay in Argentina as a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar.
Your placement in Argentina, how was it when you were studying there? What types of courses did you take? Where did you live? And those types of things.
When I first got there, part of the scholarship enabled me to take 1 month of language training, an intensive course, which was really very helpful. Because there's a big difference in taking Spanish classes in high school and college and then being able to go to a country and really communicate. I will never forget my first day or my first couple days in the city. And I was so frustrated because I went to go buy a Coke and the words just were not coming out as quickly as I wanted them to. And I had one of those frustrating days where I couldn't really communicate. Burst out in tears in the middle of the city, and then people were walking by. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. And I couldn't even say I'm fine in Spanish, and it didn't come out right. So the language training was essential, and during that first month, I stayed with a host family that they helped you become oriented with the food, the times, because the meals are much different than they are here in the United States. I mean, dinner is normally not served until 9:30 or 10. Well, my stomach was growling by 5:30, so.
Which is when a lot of Kentuckians are going to bed.
Yeah.
Much less getting ready to eat dinner.
Definitely. Wow, I hope you guys can get that off the screen because that's very embarrassing. Oh my. Well, that was a long time ago, but I can say that the Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship has made such an impact on my life. I wouldn't be here doing the things I am today. I wouldn't have had the nerve to start my own business, and I just hope that more people can learn about the program and have the opportunity to do the same thing.
Right, and you mentioned a minute ago about what Rotary is doing internationally, and this is a way that Rotary it has 4 objects, and one of the objects of Rotary, the 4th one, is to promote world understanding, international cooperation, and world peace. And of course, one of the ways that we do it is through the Ambassadorial Scholars Program, where if someone is selected to participate in a program such as you were in Buenos Aires, you would go and spend a year basically at a university studying, but you'd be an ambassador of goodwill and an ambassador for peace, and Rotary would fund that scholar up to about $25,000 a year.
You guys keep it increasing. I wish I was a scholar now.
We're bumping it up. And if they want to find out, if folks would like to find out more about it, they can go to the Rotary website at www.rotary.org.
Right, and as an ambassadorial scholar, the scholars are inclined to give a number of speaking engagements and work with some of the charities. In fact, when I was in Argentina, I worked with the Junior Achievement Organization, and when I returned back to the United States, I gave speeches around at various Rotary clubs in Kentucky and even in other states as well.
That's right. And another program that we have is the Group Study Exchange Program, and again, this one brings together young professionals, usually between 25 and 40 years of age, and they will go overseas for about 4 weeks to visit with their colleagues, excuse me, colleagues in other parts of the world. And it's a great opportunity to share information with your colleagues in another area of the world, but also to learn about the cultural experience that you would get from being in that part of the world. And of course, these types of programs, again, are sponsored by Rotary International. They come at no cost to the participants. If someone's selected to be part of the Group Study Exchange Program, Rotary will pay for that and send that person to Turkey or South Korea or Argentina, wherever it might be.
So can I sign up again?
You can. You can. You're not a Rotarian, right? You have to be a non-Rotarian. So those are some of the things that Rotary is involved in. And of course, as I mentioned, we have projects at the community level, and we're involved very much so with the United Nations. I know we were going to talk about that a little bit today.
I was just going to ask you,
please.
Mr. Miller, you're also on the board of the United Nations Association. So talk about some of the activities that you're involved with.
Okay, the United Nations Association is the largest foreign policy association in the United States. There are 175 chapters around the country, 27,000 members, and basically what we try to do, we're not part of the United Nations, we're totally separate from the UN, but what we try to do is to promote a discussion of international issues, because these issues and events that take place in other parts of the world do affect us. They affect us here in Miami, Dade County, or wherever we may live. So we want to